some recent changes. Is there gonna be sort of a formal notice to the hospital that we're terminating that termination letter and all the things that were listed have been addressed one way or another?
I don't believe there's been any information put out as far as the, I don't know if we've officially,
It was reported that because of the recent lease changes, the termination letter is sort of,
It's moved.
there were like 4 or 5 issues in that termination letter. Have all 5 of those been accomplished, or will there be some discussion of what was done or what wasn't done? Because there were like 5 issues presented to the hospital, and have they all been dealt with one way or another?
Mr. Decker, can you bring to our attention that issue?
In the negotiations of the lease changes, those issues were brought up and they were addressed, and they're part of this thing that's gonna take time. But the effect of renegotiating the lease and entering that has rendered the initial termination letter moot.
What we, one of the big issues was the board of directors having representation through McKinley County, having representatives on there. Currently, Mr. Bill Lee was a representative with a non-voting status. He currently has voting status. We also have another board member available, which we have not appointed. We've kicked around a number of names, mainly from that have been presented to us. I think we're very close right now. We're down to like 2 people that we would present to the board of directors. They have to accept them names. That's part of the agreement. And so.
Okay. A couple of questions on that, but is there gonna be any report to the community as to what the hospital has done to improve community with their employees and to improve communication with the community? Those are specific things in the termination notice. Is there gonna be any report or follow-up to let everyone in the community know what the hospital did on those 2 points?
If we had anything on employees, but we did have
Yeah, I don't
communication.
think we have anything on.
Open and transparent communication with RMCHCS employees, open and transparent communication with the community, continuing dialogue / communication with county commissioners and county management. Those are 3 points that were in the termination notice.
As Mr. Decker said, negotiations that were discussed, issued, and then the new lease came on.
Just a couple of quick questions then about the new board members that would be appointed by the county, their sort of recommendations, and the hospital committee could reject the recommendations.
That's correct.
Police also said they would have to sign a confidentiality agreement. What would that prevent those directors from doing as far as communicating with the commissioners? Would it prevent direct communication with commissioners as to the operations of the hospital?
What it does is, because RMCHCS is a private 501c3 corporation, the board members, even though they're appointed by the county commission, still have a fiduciary duty to that board. So they are under the same fiduciary duty of any board member for that organization. The county also has the ability to remove an appointee at any time and replace them. It just goes through the same lease process.
We're hoping our communication comes through management, not our board of directors. And that's something we're working on. We're trying to work through that process to get in. But with all the turmoil we've been dealing with, it's kind of held us back from moving forward very fast. We're dealing with a lot of other issues in regards to the hospital, rather than things we think we should be focusing on.
So those 2 members would be subject to the same confidentiality as all the other board members? whatever that is. Okay. That's it, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Bruce Foreman. I'm a retired physician, and I've been living in Gallup for 20 years. One of the things that's concerned me, and I don't want to go through a lot of history, but just one point I want to bring up, is that I looked into applying for board position last winter, and one of the process, there was an outside consulting company that this management corporation was using. I applied, and they said that that I would need to be screened by the previous CEO before I could present my application to the board. And this is a reversal of the way things worked in the past. As the one lady pointed out, in the past, the hospital board was run by local people in the community, and they would hire a CEO who worked under the supervision of the board. And I think the things have gotten turned around with this recent relationship with this outside hospital corporation. The CEO, the previous CEO, worked for the corporation, and then that CEO was screening the applicants that would be on the board that should be supervising him. My understanding, in the past, the board was a separate entity, and they helped to direct what was going to happen through the CEO. And in that situation, the board would be communicating with you, county commissioners, and not the outside management company communicating with you. So I think things have gotten turned around, and it's taken away the local control that we had before. That model worked very well for several years. Bringing an outside hospital corporation is a new thing, and I think it's not working. It didn't work previously. It doesn't look like it's working now. I just wanted to point out that things have gotten reversed.
And that's something we're aware of that, and we're working on getting that transition turned around. Just another comment I'd like to make, though, Mr. Whitaker's only been here since the 1st of May, which has been 2 months. I think he's done a great job of trying to rectify some of the things that happened in the last year and a half.
And I really appreciate that, but I would like to point out that he is working for the corporation.
We're aware of that.
Yeah, not for the board.
Commissioners, also, the amendment to the leagues has rectified that issue. The county appointed board members are vetted by the board with input from the county commission. And even board members selected by the board themselves are not vetted through the management company, but by the board themselves. So that's been rectified.
We thank you for your comments. I think we've heard a lot of good information. Hope we didn't make too many people mad, but, Mr. Tom, you're gonna be the last one.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, Commissioner, I'd like to indulge Mr. Baca on something good. My mother's 92 years old. She goes up about every 6 or 7 weeks to get her blood tested, the phlebotomist up there. I check in, she's unable to get inside very easily. They come out, they're wonderful. They take her blood right there in the vehicle. My hat's off to them there in the lab. Sincerely, they've been doing this for quite a while. We don't have to try to get her in and out, and that's a real positive. I really appreciate the people in the lab, the phlebotomists, everybody taking care of that. The staff, everybody, I really do. She's 92, and I appreciate it. And that's thank you. Thank you.
Okay. We have a request by RMCHCS to increase mill levy from 3 mills to 4 mills. Comments, commissioners? Still with us, Commissioner Jackson?
Yes, I am. You're coming in
know if you have any comments.
Before then, the main issue.
About the mill levy.
Commissioner, the item on the agenda is to increase, the request to increase the mill levy from 3 mills to 4 mills.
Yes, I have that, but, it sounds to me like a portion of the audience there does not want some answers on how the mill levy is to be spent, am I correct? And there doesn't seem to be much communication between CHAG and Mr. Whitaker.
There was no issues about how the mill levy is being spent. It was more or less the issue of the operations of the hospital between CHAG and CHC was the main topic here. There was recommendations for approval of the mill levy, and there were some that were not sure, so. I guess it's up to us to make that decision. Yes, ma'am? As long as it's real quick. I don't need any more about that.
I just
Could
want
you
to
state your
clear,
name for the
this
first?
is Jean Phillips, RMCH patient, and I just want to clarify, I think there's a lot of support for passing the mill levy, and there's also a lot of support for putting conditions on it, including specific metrics and demanding a specific plan for how the course is going to be corrected. And I would suggest that this is not ready for a vote, without a discussion of what those conditions can be or what those metrics would be. I also just want to note, it doesn't appear that appointment of board members is on your agenda for your closed session tonight, and
No.
we're very anxious to have that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you hear that, Commissioner Jackson?
No, she came in choppy again. When people pause, it doesn't come in very smoothly.
Okay, she had recommended the passage of the mill levy, but with conditions of metric established on conditions being met by RMCH, is what her comments were.
And independent assessment.
Thank you, Chair.
Any other comment, Commissioner Bob?
No, my comment would be, I kind of agree that we table this until we have a little bit more on that and bring it up at the next meeting. That would be my motion.
That would be my, I would agree to that because, we need to table this. There seems to be some more, communication that needs to happen. And we've been talking about communicating ever since I came on the board almost a year and a half ago. And we're not doing a good job of communicating and sitting down with one another. It's just been pitting one group against the other group, and maybe it's time we need an arbitrator to come in and look at these issues. I don't know how much that's gonna cost, but if it's gonna take us this long, maybe we need an outside and external person to view this. But, if Commissioner Baca is gonna table it, then I'll second that.
That was as a motion, Commissioner.
Motion, yes, sir.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Baca to table, until we meet with the conditions. Is that pleasing to you, Mr. Whitaker? We can work on that?
Yeah, and
I guess it doesn't really matter. A motion by Commissioner Baca, second by Commissioner Jackson, to table this till our next meeting. Hopefully we can work out some conditions to be met to appease both groups. Roll call?
Commissioner Baca,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
What? You call me?
Commissioner Jackson, you're both?
I table, I'm in favor of it.
Okay. That's a
and
yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Yes. Motion carries. Motion is, item is tabled to our next board meeting, which will be on July 28th at 6 p.m.
personnel.
Executive session.